this is Nathan with MeatRx, and I'm here today with our friend Zack from World Carnivore Tribe. He has been on the carnivore diet for about 2 years now, right?
Yes, it'll be 2 years next month.
Ah, awesome. That's twice as long as me. So, um, I would like to start by asking you about your health conditions before the diet and your way of eating. So, if you could tell us a bit about that.
Sure. As far as my way of eating prior to this, right? For lack of better explanation, it was pretty much a standard American diet, and going all the way back to early childhood. When I was young, anywhere between roughly when I was 7, 8 years old, all the way through my teenage years, I was always pretty hefty, pretty overweight kid. Um, Lost a little bit of the weight in my late teens when I was about 18, 19, right before I joined the military. And early on, I was able to keep some of it off just based on sheer force of physical training, right, and then a lot of calorie burning. But I never really changed any of the ways I was eating. There was quite a bit of, um, pizza, things like that, readily available all the time. Living in dormitories, working a lot, and being stationed overseas, you try a lot of local foods and things. You don't really pay attention to a lot of stuff, but it was very high in pretty much any carb that I could put my hand on, and pretty high in fat as well. So I had really high blood pressure even at an early age. Early on in my military career, all the way back to when I was like 19, 20 years old. I had, the military docs were trying to put me on blood pressure meds and things like that at such an early age. And I was like, wow, okay, super high blood pressure, what's going on? And I never really attributed it to my poor diet or lack of exercise or anything like that. And I just kept pressing on. I didn't want to deal with any of the meds. And, I'm young, I can tough it out, right? And the high blood pressure thing followed me, all the way up until a few years ago. Roughly in my mid 30s, I had come across a book called Fat for Fuel, right? And I was on a long road trip. I played that over Audible, for 13 something hours straight through. I listened to this book until it was done. And that had originally got me interested in keto. Right. So that's how I had initially discovered that in, early 2017. So I had slowly transitioned to more of a ketogenic diet at that time, which it was working pretty well. Inflammation was down. My blood pressure was coming down. But the diet itself for me personally wasn't as sustainable as I had hoped it would be. Just because of the sheer amount of work that I felt I needed to put in to measure things and make sure I was in keto. Don't eat this; it's going to kick you out of keto. Blah blah blah. Peeing on strips and all that stuff. There's a lot of maintenance involved in that, and so it was kind of tough to plan out all those meals all the time and constantly be worrying about it. But shortly after that, probably about 6 months or so after that, I deployed to the Middle East. And during some of my free time, I had got caught up in a YouTube downward spiral like some of us do. And I had stumbled upon Dr. Baker, right, online. And I don't necessarily remember if it was specifically his or if it was him on Rogan, because that's one of the podcasts I listen to, but kind of sparked my interest, right? I was like, okay, what's this carnivore thing about? So at that time, while I was deployed, I figured, there's no better time than now to see if it's something I can do, because I felt if I could do that way of eating while deployed, then it would be easy for me to do it when I got back home. And so at around that time, it was about November of 2018, and I was probably close to about 210, 215 at any given time as far as my weight. I'm 6 foot tall, so I was starting to get a little pudgy around the middle. I was in my late 30s. And so I started to do a carnivore way of eating, out there. Over the next 4 remaining months of my deployment, I saw some amazing results. I had dropped almost 30 pounds. and working out a couple times a day, and my workouts were still great. I wasn't really losing any strength or anything like that. I was maintaining muscle mass and was just kind of shedding fat, sleeping well, and my blood pressure improved, and has stayed that way ever since, right? So my next, 3 kind of health checks with the Air Force, I haven't been asked about my blood pressure ever again, right? Because every time I go in now, it's at normal or below normal ranges, and which has been pretty amazing. And inflammation and things in my joints has been very low, and as prevalent with some of my blood work. I was doing blood work, and getting things like high sensitivity C-reactive protein checked out, and it was so ridiculously small. It was almost off the chart as far as inflammation in my body not being present, right? And overall workouts and PT and things just improved. And then when I got home, I continued with the way of eating, just to see, like, I'm gonna see if I can just keep doing this, right? It seemed pretty easy, and next month will be 2 years, right? So 2 years after starting out there in the desert, and I really don't have to try, right? So when I compare it to keto, it's more or less, how much time and effort does somebody wanting to put into something? And the carnivore way of eating for me has just been easy, because I was able to reduce a lot of sugar cravings and things like that back when I was doing keto. So the transition from keto to carnivore was much easier, as far as there weren't any kind of weird withdrawals or anything like that. And over time, it has pretty much just evolved into primarily just beef, eggs, water, black coffee. Quit drinking, so I don't drink alcohol anymore. That was almost 2 years ago. Quit that as well, and it's just been easy, right? And but yeah. So right now, it's like I said, it's primarily beef, eggs, water, black coffee. If I feel like I need more energy for my workouts or anything like that, I'll up my fats, and but I just try to maintain my protein, and I kind of adjust my fats up and down depending on workouts, or if I want to lean out a little bit more or less, I just kind of, that's my moving target, is my fats. We do a lot of workouts. Go ahead.
I was going to ask if you fast intentionally, or how many meals do you eat a day?
Yeah, no worries. So not necessarily intentionally, right? It was something that just kind of happened. I don't really eat breakfast anymore, so overwhelmingly throughout the week, I'm a 2 meal a day kind of person. I typically have my lunch as my first meal, and that is usually anywhere between 16 and 18 hours of fasting, because I'll have lunch, first meal, several hours of work left, and then after I come home, I'll do my strength routine, and then I'll usually eat my dinner right after that, which could be anywhere between 7 and 8 o'clock p.m. and then won't eat again until the next day, around 12:30, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So not necessarily intentionally, just I'm not really hungry, right? I know a lot of people have experienced that with this way of eating. Some people go to OMAD, and other folks integrate an intermittent fasting protocol into their daily lives, right? But I wasn't really doing it on purpose. It just kind of happened naturally.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Mhm.
I couldn't do a diet that, like, I did keto as well, like you
Right.
did before I did carnivore.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not counting anything. Sorry.
Miserable. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I like about the carnivore diet. You just eat till you're hungry,
Mhm.
and when you're hungry. So, and you don't need to measure nothing. So I
Right.
really like that. Hmm. So you said something about inflammation.
Yeah. So, it was primarily knees, right? I know anybody out there that's been in the military for any amount of time, we always joke about having bad knees. But primarily knees, right? It affected a lot of my lifting, things like, squats or any kind of like leg exercises, shoulders, elbows. And I always seem to feel like inflammation in my joints. For me, my litmus test for inflammation is my fingers, right, and my knuckles. And I can tell, within a very short amount of time if I was, if I was starting to get inflamed or swollen joints just by my fingers and knuckles. And I'm 40 now, and in my early 30s, my joints and stuff were like some crusty old 60-something-year-old man with damn near arthritis. I was just had a lot of pain. Once the inflammation went away, like things just dramatically got easier, better. Recovery, from workouts and things is easier. And just the sheer volume and amount of physical training that we're doing with my unit that I'm in now is that much easier. For example, this morning, 6 o'clock this morning, we're meeting out by the bay, and we're rucking 5 miles with 35, 40 pounds on your back, and I feel great now. But if it was 5, 10 years ago, my knees and hips would just be bothering me all day. Doing that this morning, I was still able to come home after work and get in a lift and workout, and before dinner. And like I said, it's hard to explain, but recovery is just so much easier.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
It used to take me a while to recover from some of those things. And now it's just a day or two and I'm good to go do it again.
Wow. Yeah, I have heard that. Back when you had all those health problems, like, did you just accept that was how it was? That was just genetic, it runs in your family kind of thing?
No, so kind of. Like my mother, she has high blood pressure and has for many, many, many years. And takes quite a few medications for various health problems that she has, either with regard to high blood pressure, had her thyroid removed in her 30s, and has been on, hormones and things like that, like the remainder of her life because of that. And she's always struggled with the high blood pressure. There's various other people in my family that have high blood pressure or diabetes and things like that. That was always something that kind of stuck out in my mind later when I was doing keto, right? So when I first started doing keto, and I was looking at the reduction of inflammation, or the reduction of insulin resistance, and how that and the carnivore diet help with I guess reducing the risk of metabolic syndrome, anything that kind of falls under that umbrella, to include things like dementia and Alzheimer's, because my grandfather, he had Alzheimer's, and that was tough to watch, right? And so I had some soul searching, in my late 30s when all this stuff started, about what am I doing now that I can try to implement in my life to make my quality of life later better, right? What can I do to reduce my risk of diabetes, reduce my risk of, insulin resistance, or, reduce possible risks with regard to, mental instability and dementia and Alzheimer's. And then, so then I started, like I said, the keto carnivore path to try to do that as a preventative maintenance, I guess, is the best way I can describe it.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
when I was younger, I was young and I didn't care, right? So I was young, I'm, in the military, I'm out there just doing my thing, and I never really paid attention to it. So the path to, keto carnivore right before that, was a good friend of mine that I was stationed with multiple bases, passed away, when he was 35 of cancer, very aggressive cancer. He was diagnosed in August, and then he was pretty much just dwindled away to nothing and passed away by the following February. So it was a very short time. And so there were a lot of soul searching at that time about just how short life is, and what am I doing for me and my health, and how can I better improve things. And that's how I stumbled upon that book, and things led to where we are now. And so it just kind of made me reevaluate things, and it's kind of here we are.
Yeah. Do you think it would have taken much convincing when you were younger, going through all those health problems?
Oh
Would you
yeah.
have heard about the diet sooner?
Well, so my younger years, right, and even early in my military career, um, I was always on kind of like this sine wave yo-yo of different ways of eating, right? Like I'd pack on some pounds and I'd be like, okay, I'm getting too heavy. I'm getting out of standard. I need to do something to lose this weight and get healthy again, right? And I would, and then I would pass whatever physical tests and exams I had to do, and then I'd go back to what I was doing, right? Or I'd be stationed overseas somewhere and, you know, would take time off the gym, wouldn't be working out, would spend my free time, just, going out with the boys and eating pizza and drinking beer and all that stuff. And which was great socially. I absolutely love that I had those experiences. But for my health, it certainly didn't help me in any way. And it was just kind of like this sine wave, the yo-yo dieting, right? And nothing ever stuck. Probably the most consistent thing that I had was in my late 20s, early 30s. I was stationed with a group of people that were very into bodybuilding. And so that was probably the most in shape I was until now. But again, that was a very strict, niche, miserable time in my life. I absolutely loved the lifting portion. But that type of way of eating for me just wasn't enjoyable. Everything was bland, and I was sick of rice and broccoli and bland chicken and stuff. It sucked. I was in great shape, but it just wasn't sustainable. And so, like I said, it was always a yo-yo. And I don't know if when I was younger, if somebody had came to me and explained to me this whole carnivore diet thing, if I would have bought into it, and not to say that, I was stubborn, but I was pretty stubborn, right? I really didn't start getting a little bit more open-minded until, my early 30s. There was even a period of time there where, I saw some documentary on Netflix about juicing, right? And when I bought some juicer and big giant plates of vegetables, just cramming them into this machine and thought I was, this is for me and my health. And it tasted horrible. And it was miserable and I hated doing it. And it didn't really do anything for me, right? So I was open-minded enough to at least try new things and listen to new opinions, and see what works for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I know exactly which documentary you're talking about too, because I remember.
Right. Yeah. Man, I mean, it was convincing, right? I was like, oh man, I need to do this juicing thing. This is going to be great. And it was, meh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we still have the juicer that he suggested in the documentary. It's been collecting dust for a few years now.
Right.
And one thing
Oh,
I
yeah.
found out, you can.
I finally sold mine a couple years ago.
Oh yeah, we should probably try to do that. One thing we found, you can't juice bacon, unfortunately. So.
Right. Right. You can definitely save the fat and cook with it. I do that all the time.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've even heard of people making them into like using ice cube molds to freeze them, and they eat them as snacks. I don't know if I could go that far.
I don't know about that, but I'll definitely use it to cook some food, cook some eggs, cook whatever.
Mm-hmm. So, well, yeah. So I was going to ask you what I always ask people in the interviews: what advice would you give a younger you to try? But I guess maybe you kind of touched on that a bit. You can elaborate a bit more if you want.
Right. It's younger me. Man, life is short, right? This is the only body you get. My military career, I'm primarily in IT, right? And one of the things we talk about in IT, especially if you're a coder, is trash in, trash out, right? So trash code in, you're going to get trash code out. And you think about the old phrases that we used to hear when I was a kid: "You are what you eat," right? And that's a very true statement. You are what you eat, right? I mean, I am made of the things that I ingest and put into my body, and I was putting garbage in there. I mean, pizza, was my kryptonite, mac and cheese, all that good stuff. And I learned to live without it, right? So I would definitely try to convince myself that all of those things that I was doing the short-lived, little dopamine spikes of pleasure you got from, this or that or this or that or whatever, just isn't worth the long run, and then it doesn't matter. Like, a lot of people are concerned with what other people think. And it took me a long time, when I was younger, to kind of get over that. And, other people might think it's weird. It's weird. You just only eat meat, whatever. But if any of these people are actually your friends, they won't mind and they won't care, or they might be intrigued, or, maybe ask for some advice or something like that. But I would definitely try to get myself to understand, hey, it's the only body you got, man. You got to take care of it to the best of your ability, and try to live that healthy life, as best you can.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, get over yourself, man. There you go. That's what I try to tell him.
Well, that's good. All right. Well, yeah, thanks a lot for your experience. And that was very encouraging to hear all the changes.
No, I appreciate the opportunity, man.
Yeah.
And, I'm still active duty military, right? So it's still something that we can do. I hope I try to convince other folks in the service that this is a thing, it's viable, it's useful. I finally have a physician who's willing to listen and not try to put me on statins when he pulls my blood work. But yeah, it's been pretty amazing.
Yeah. Hopefully anyone that's going through what you went through, or in the same circumstances as you, perhaps,
right,
that will be able to be encouraged by this and turn their life around. So that's why we do these.
Hope so.
All right. Yep. All right. It was nice talking to you, Zach. You have a nice night.
Yep.
Take care.
Bye.